Alright, the question is why users merge data. Like during the Siebel GUI class, some people notice that there is a merge operation available to users to merge the data records. But the question arises why users merge the data. Uh, well, important observations regarding the same is we never merge documents, we never merge emails, we never merge like two records in most of the walks of life. Why do people need to merge data in Siebel? Well, main reason is when users by mistake create duplicate records, you know, then they need to merge data. So we need to understand. Let's first see what it really means. So once you select two, oh, users merge records when there is a duplication of records. Question comes why there is a duplication of records, but then you yourself answered that probably the reason is that one person entered some data, he entered some account, the other person also entered another same, he comes in the next shift, he doesn't make a query in the database. He should make a query first to see whether there is a duplicate record or not. Second thing is, if there is no duplicate record, then if there is no such record, then only he should create. But users do go ahead and create that record to save that extra time for querying, and that screws up their whole work. They do not realize that, but they do that. Anyway, you already knew the answer, but I still talked about that in detail. Still, now your question is when and how does the fact that the records are duplicate gets flagged, or the duplicate records, when do the duplicates records get flagged? Who finds it? What is it? How do people come to know that these are duplicate records? So many questions come to our mind. Why users merge records in first place? You know, I mean, then the subsequent question, the answer I gave is like because they're duplicates. Then the question comes, why do people create duplicate records, or how do they get created? What in the hell goes wrong that the users end up creating duplicate records? Then we had a little bit of discussion around, um, once the duplicate records do get created, how do and when do, is part of the process, when do the duplicate records get caught, right? Then just some random things coming to my mind, and I wrote it, and you guys gave me some ideas too. There are deduplication services. There are some companies which provide deduplication services. Then I wanted to talk about examples of duplicates in real life projects. you know then I wanted to talk about examples of duplicates, like in real life, as a customer that I have seen. Like I have the duplicate records in Dell. As part of their process, they have duplicate records. They just have duplicate records. Every time you go there and order a laptop, you can pretty much create a new record. In fact, Hotmail does not do any deduplication. Does Hotmail do they allow you to make only one email ID, or they let you make one or two extra?
I don't know, but Yahoo does.
Yeah, Hotmail will also allow. Without any issue, they will allow. You can make as many as 20, 30 if you want. Nobody's gonna care. There is no deduplication on that, right? Then we just say disadvantages of duplicate records. Why in the hell, you like to get rid of duplicate records? One is space. The other one is like a business process will get compromised. And then there are things like some simple deduplication rules. We talked about some rules engines to deduplicate. Simple deduplication rules like SSN and all that. We all understand these are all very simple rules. We can always make a deduplication rule that whenever somebody is entering a contact information, he must enter an SSN, and once he's entering an SSN system, we can put the ability in the system to flag the entry, saying that, hey, you know what, you're entering this SSN again, so it looks like this is a duplicate record, just confirm. Okay, trust me, users just enter 111, that's it. Just they do that. So why users do those wrong kind of things? When you put some deduplication checks, what in the hell have users have in mind to not enter duplicate records? I mean, they pretty much can screw the data without thinking about it. And why do they do that? So we're pretty much coming to the same. How do duplicate records get created? It's not only by ignorance. It's sometimes by
Accident.
careless behavior, just
No, not
insincere behavior, just thinking that it doesn't matter, just you do it. You know that it's a duplicate, you still go about entering it.
Sometimes they do it intentionally.
Sometimes they are really pressurized by something that they have to do it. The intention, well, intentionally they don't. Intentionally means with their knowledge is what you are saying.
Intentionally.
Yeah, intentionally they would not probably do it.
They make mistakes.
But sometimes by pressure they have to, like, basically usually they are basically driven by deadlines. They have to meet the deadlines. Here there is a customer, they have to finish 60 calls a day, as far as service requests are concerned, and now they realize they are spending more time in querying for that user. When they have the facility to create a new record, they'll just simply create it. They will not even try to look for it. If system flags it's a duplicate, instead of looking for that record, what they will simply do is put another extra one and say, okay, it went. They will do these kind of things rather than actually looking for records. We'll come up with the ways, how do businesses handle that. So there is a thing called as business process re-engineering. We got to understand that discipline too. We need to understand what in the process is wrong, which can lead to a habit of entering duplicate records. So let's start answering these questions one by one. Let's try to understand the what you call it, enormity of the situation. Situation is big. In one of the tech companies in America, top networking company, networking giant, big networking giant, the biggest company in America probably,
Let's go.
they had 4,000 duplicates of a single account. There were 90,000 duplicates. The total number of records was like 500,000. Out of them, well, 180,000 or 200,000 records were duplicates of each other. One of the records had 4,000 duplicates. There were some records which had 3,000, 2,000 duplicates. As you see, so problem is huge. I mean, it is so big you can't imagine. And we were like really surprised. But what are the disadvantages of duplicates? We need to understand that, because without that, we'll be trying to put deduplication code which costs money. Nothing comes free in America. You pay a programmer, you pay a business analyst, you pay a tester to do all that work. So if you want a feature, if you as a BA suggest a feature, you better know the cost and know the impact on the scope, on the cost time estimate, right? Cost, time, and scope, right? These are the three things. Anyway, you better know what's going to cost the company, whether it's worth it or not. So Hotmail.com does not provide any deduplication because they realize it's of no use. It just means some extra space. They don't care about it. So they come out with their deduplication strategy that if somebody doesn't use a Hotmail account, it will be purged in 30 days. If you're right,
Yeah.
your Hotmail account becomes inactive and gets deleted after some X days.
Mm.
That's deduplication, right? They just came out with their own weird method. At least if I have three accounts, and they gave a lot of space in every email ID. So there is no need for me to go to another email ID. I can just keep using my main email ID. There is no reason for me to go to another email ID. So even if I make another email ID by mistake or for any reason, it will get purged eventually by Hotmail. So there is no reason for a user to go back. So they have their own deduplication work. Well, we're talking about some business things, but anyway, so there are some pre-entry tasks that you can pre-entry strategies. There are some post-entry. This one is post-entry. Let them create duplicates. We'll manage it later on. We'll see how to. But anyway, we're coming back. You should be able to see the disadvantages clearly of entering a duplicate records. For example, in that networking company, we decided to let them create duplicates because we realized the cost of doing that, hindering or restricting the users from entering duplicate records was higher than actually the loss because of entering the duplicate records. There was really no loss. We were supposed to call them. They used to routinely get the list. They used to, unique the list before they used to call, and they used to send the mass emails. Even if somebody is repeating twice or 4 times in the system, they would import it into an Excel. They'll purge it. They said we don't care whether it is 4,000 times or 1,000 times. When they call and the person says I'm ready to work with you, then they start getting serious, and that's when they want a single record of that person. But before that, it just didn't matter to them. So they were creating duplicates left and right. But anyway, now in some companies where duplicate records can be a big nemesis, they still go for it. Or I'm sorry, I take my words back. It's a nemesis, and they know it, and it exists. The users keep on doing that. So that will be within the purview of our discussion. What are the disadvantages we can incur when it's mission critical to us? One of the things is your business processes get compromised. As we all discussed, let's say there is a customer. His name is Kunal Sinha. Kunal Sinha SSN is 111. So another rep, there is no deduplication rule. Another rep by mistake enters the same Kunal Sinha 111. Mr. Kunal Sinha calls one day and he makes his payment of $100. Okay, so these are the two records which reps end up entering. Mr. Kunal Sinha, there is an existing amount due, and then there is another Kunal Sinha, there is no amount due. So the first rep, when Mr. Kunal calls, says, I want to make a payment today. And actually he might have even gotten a letter saying that you need to make a payment, right? So he calls and he says, I want to make a payment. So rep 2, he looks at this record, he makes a query, he looks at this record and says, Mr. Sinha, there is nothing pending. Why are you making a payment? So Mr. Sinha will say, I got a letter from you guys today. What are you talking? There must be some amount due. Then Mr. Rep will go back in the system. He'll make another query. He'll get both the records. He'll look at the second record and he'll say, oh, sorry, there is a duplicate record of yours. I see a $100 payment and it has not been paid. Okay. He will receive the payment and he will put it Y and save the record. Mr. Sinha calls again in the evening and says, hello sir. He calls another rep. Rep says, all right, Mr. Sinha, how can I help you? He says, I want to just make sure that I paid the money in the morning. Can I get the confirmation number? Then again rep fetches us wrong record first. Then he sees the wrong record. He says, Mr. Sinha, there was no amount due. You did not pay anything. He said, no, I made a payment in the morning. What are you talking? You guys took $100. It's already gone out of my credit card. So he said, okay, sir, just be patient. We have this issue of having duplicate records. Let me get it back into my data, into system. He makes another query and gets this. Oh, sir, there is another record of yours. And in that, I see that there was an amount due of $100. You have paid the money, and this is your confirmation number from the credit card company, 111-SXS. So you see, customer service has been compromised enormously. How many times has it happened with you that you call T-Mobile and they treat you like this? I don't know, you did not pay any money. I think they are able to find your record quite fast, that you owe the money or not, whether you paid the money or not. Is it right? Why this is happening? Because they do have some good deduplication rules. If they don't make that, if they don't enforce them, you can run into this mess that I'm talking about here.
What is the duplication?
Deduplication. So this business process will get compromised. You see, whenever Mr. Kunal Sinha will call, he'll have to face a lot of torture, and this does not happen when we guys call. That means they have used a lot of deduplication rules to make sure CSRs don't face this problem, right? So anyway, so other thing is space. You are unnecessarily utilizing the space. It's quite a big issue, but unless there is an exponential increase in the space, I will not really call it a very big issue. Instead of 2 GB, if there is like 1 more GB data required, that's not a big deal. You know, if there are 1 million records and you have instead of that 1.5 million records, it's not a big deal. It becomes a big deal if instead of 1 million, it becomes 10 million. That's when we call it exponential increase. And if the situation is that, it will basically mean that there will be an exponential increase in the duplicates. That's when the problem arises. So just one double or 1.5 times data, but it is still a problem. I don't say that it's not a problem. That's a good thought though. All right. So we have done some disadvantages of duplicate records. Other is your reports will get screwed. Company can never get a picture of what's going on. Let's say there are 2 accounts. Company will say, oh, let's find out how many premium accounts we have. Whosoever has given orders, 25 orders or more in the last 1 year, will flag them as our premium accounts and our more important accounts, and we'll find out what can be done. Right? What is happening in this case? Your report will never be right because those orders will be entered against different accounts, although they are same people. Right? Is it right?
Yeah.
So your reports will get screwed. You will VP or companies, CEOs, VPs, directors, they always want to know, sales directors, VPs sales, they want to know what's happening in the company, how many premium accounts we have, how many gold accounts we have. They have a lot of business philosophy around finding these more important customers and finding out what can be done and what cannot be done, and so on and so forth. But these reports will not work properly if deduplication does not take place properly. Okay. Next one is examples of so we talked about disadvantages. So we have definitely have disadvantages. Merging records, deduplication is a very big thing. Every company is very serious about deduplication, especially in pharmaceutical industry. They cannot afford to have a patient name twice, same patient twice. They cannot have. They just cannot have. If they one patient undergoes treatment and the same patient goes undergo treatment at some other place, those two treatments should be able to pull the whole record of that patient by making one single query. You see my point?
Yeah.
If they cannot find out that this patient and the other patient are basically the same guys and the treatments are related to the same guy, they are screwed. Trust me, they are screwed.
I know he's going to be dead.
The company is going to be dead. The company is going to be dead if they come out with this way. So pharmaceutical industry cannot afford to have duplicate records for their patients. Well, they basically deal with doctors. I'm sorry, but many kinds of patients. Patients do call, customer service, and I don't know where the clinical, somewhere it falls. You cannot have the patient records. Maybe not in pharmaceutical companies, but in the healthcare companies.
Medical records.
In the healthcare companies, medical records companies. Perfect. So, but we are understanding the importance of having deduplicated records, the unique records, or the proper records. So, in pharmaceutical industry, there are some deduplication services and all that stuff which exist, and they provide deduplication services. You give them your data, they churn it around, they find out, they make rules, they scrub. We call it data scrubbing rules. So they provide they do the data scrubbing. They do a deduplication by the name, last name, wife's name, SSN, this number, that number, address, zip code, where he lived in the past, credit history, credit cards. They've used all these methods. They access all the public files of those two duplicate records. They have millions of records. They cannot. So they match it, and then they find out these two people are actually the same guys. So there's a lot of integration work around there. You send them the data, and then they come back and they tell you, then you suck it into their system and find out what are the right values for that. So there are things like that. Then we talked about a concept called as winner record and loser record. Anyway, so these duplication services are one way. Second is users themselves can do the merge record. That's when the whole discussion started. Why do users need to merge the data? So users need to merge the data whenever there are duplicates and they know that these are duplicates and they want to merge them, right? Right? Okay. Then, okay. So they merge records. Then there are so many rules which govern how the merge should take place. One is winner records and loser records. Users should be very much aware which will be the winner record, which will be the loser record. So they have to, they have to copy the loser record values into the winner record.
What is the winner record?
Winner record is the one which will stay in the database. The other one will evaporate.
Disappear.
Evaporate means I'm not saying disappear because it looks like it is somewhere and it is somewhere but it's hidden. Evaporate means it's gone. Okay, that's why I'm trying to say it evaporate. Although it is similar things, but I just want to make sure my point is clear. It just goes, it gone.
What kind of data?
And where,
It's like deleted.
Where it goes, nobody knows.
It gets deleted.
Deleted.
It gets deleted basically. Okay, so important things are, so when they merge the records, there's so many things that come into picture. Business analyst is supposed to gather requirements for all those things. Like for some of the things is the winner record will be the one which you select first, that will be the winner. The one which you select second will be the loser. So users are told this thing and then they have to get the values from loser record, put it in the winner record, then merge them, right? This is how you'll train them and then they will keep on doing that. So this is the kind of rules that BA will gather and give it to the developer and he'll make. Other rules are, there might be some values that they would want, like we don't want to copy all this. Whatever we call it winner, just merge and then just copy these values from winner always. Leave these values blank or take it from the loser record. Things like that. There could be rules around that. So we need to gather the requirements for all those rules. Okay. What happens with the record? It evaporates. It gets deleted basically. Let's say this. It gets deleted. It's gone. Okay. Now. Okay. Then there is a very important concept called as cascade merge. See, in Siebel, it's not one entity. Siebel is not one entity. Siebel is first. It has accounts. Accounts have professional activities related to them, activity plans related to that, agreements related to that. Let's say we entered 2 agreements related to one account and 3 agreements related to the other account, which is a duplicate of that account, first one. We entered 3 opportunities for the first account. We entered 2 opportunities for the next account. We enter 1 contact for the first account, 20 contacts for the second account, things like that. When we merge these records, what should happen to the children entities? Right? We call it cascade merge. They should get merged too, right?
Yeah.
So that is the importance of merge record. That's why they simply cannot delete a record and copy the values. So I take that thing back. I will never ever just ask them to delete a record. I never suggested that anyway. I'll never ever ask them, why don't you just copy the value and delete the other one? Because if they delete that, the children of that,
Will also get gone. They'll be gone.
they will become orphan. There will be no way for you to know that these children of the loser belong to that erstwhile loser record.
Yeah.
That's gone. The relationship will go. There will be no way for you to find out who were the children. Then there will be no way for you to find out you to relate them again to the new winner record.
India में कहते हैं ना 14 years क्या हुआ?
Huh? What is it? So, well, that's a separate thing. Other thing that came in the discussion was, when we are duplicating, what can we do in Siebel itself? Do we need to always take the deduplication services? No. One of the things is BA can recommend certain basic rules. In Siebel you can make these deduplication rules that this number always has to be unique. So system will automatically flag the user that this number has been existing in the database. Let's say they are entering SSN. Let's say you put this rule in the SSN. Whenever they're entering a duplicate SSN, system will flag and say, hey, you know what, you're entering duplicate SSN, don't do it.
Suppose like
That way user will come to know. So yes, certain sites do that. When you put your email ID, they flag you, they tell you this email ID has been used. Then that basically at least starts a process in the user, thought process in the user, whether he would want to create a new record or he would go ahead and try to find out what the previous record was. Usually it adds a lot of value for me to create, for a user to have single record of his, and he might want to do that, So, but then there could be some very interesting deduplication rules like SSN could be entered wrongly. So you think about that. Let's say you enter the doctor's record, which doctor it is, his AMA number, address. If the address is same, you might flag it. Hey, you know what, looks like this could be same, because usually people should be at different addresses. At the same time, we know that this is not a good deduplication rule because people can be living at the same address, right? I and my wife, we live at the same address, right? So many times, the whole family has the same address. So this is probably not the best rule. So as a BA, you should be thinking about it. What should be a good deduplication rule and whether to dictate it in the database or not, right? Name is the poorest deduplication rule, but that's the first instance of issue. Just as you're entering the name, you might be able to say, hey, you know what, the same name exists. Especially if it's a company name, then makes a little bit of sense. But again, users may not be entering the exact company name. They might be just entering 3com, sometimes 3com Inc., sometimes 3 capital C-O-M, sometimes 3 small 3 space com, things like that. Sometimes 3 small C-O-M, things like that could be done by them. So you cannot still make rules. It's not a good idea to make rules on the basis of the name, but still sometimes you can, right? So you gotta think as a BA, what rules should I make? Okay, so deduplication rules. Then important thing is there are some companies which have like a 14-point rule engine. They maintain it. They ask you to give you their data. They scrub their data against those rules. They scrub your data against those rules. Then they output. Okay, what has happened, what has not happened, right? So my point is, so we come to know there are some simple deduplication rules which can be done in Siebel. Then there is a package called as First Logic. If you want to have complex rules, you need to have an integration done with First Logic. First Logic is a company which basically, I really don't know how it works, but Siebel can integrate it with First Logic, and at the runtime when users are creating records, First Logic is very powerful. It will flag it and say, you know what, these are duplicates. It will in fact bring it in front of it, and Siebel will show this record is existing in the database. Looks like this is a duplicate of what you're entering. Please enter the proper. Please pick this one. So First Logic is a package. We are not First Logic experts, so we will not get into that. I mean, it's good to know what it does, which I already told you. You're good to go. There is really nothing you need to know more about First Logic. There's a lot of stuff you need to know about Siebel though. So not good to go yet. All right. So we learned about simple deduplication rules, right? Then other thing is, when we create the simple deduplication rules or things like that, it may not still enforce the users to enter deduplicate to enter proper records. Users have their own reasons why they get into all this. One is careless behavior. They just go and they start creating it. They don't even make a query to find out whether there is an existing record or not with the same name. They just create a new one. Second is, sometimes they are pressurized by the process. I mean, they have to, let's say, close 60 tickets in a day. If they make query and try to find a unique record and everything, then they will go berserk. So they try to avoid those situations where they have to spend their time in which it does not add any value to them, right? So we need to understand user habits too. I mean, that is a part of your domain. As a BA, you need to understand how users think and behave and why do they do what they do. In one of the companies I worked for, that was a healthcare company, they were having a lot of duplicate records just because of user negligence. We taught them, we had sessions with them, training sessions, and we tried to tell them your reports will get screwed. Pretty much that was the only thing, incentive to them, that their manager will find out that they did this thing. They made a sales against a premium account versus a new account, things like that, or they captured a new account, things like that. But they were least bothered. They had more incentive if they do it fast. They are like a big SLA. That SLA to do whatever they were doing to close the sales, and if they do not close the sales in a set time, then they were asked questions. So that was their main incentive.
So
that
they
was
kept on creating duplicates.
They just used to create duplicate records without even thinking about it. So much so that we took the ability to create records from them. We took the ability to create accounts from them. So creating new accounts was not uncommon. It was like 10 records a day. We said, okay, whenever you want to create a new record, there were 30 reps, so 10 is quite less number. Said, whenever you want to create a new record, send the data to us, we'll create it. We just removed the privilege of creating new records from their entire application. They could not create records. I could show you that data. It was screwed. Although it was mission critical for that company to have non-duplicate records. The data deduplication is mission critical, or it is not mission critical. We discussed, how user habits are defined by these, their SLAs. There should be some motivation to not enter on duplicate records. We talked a lot about how reports will get screwed. If they don't bother about reports, they will not bother about it. So we need to, as a BA, we need to have a very good understanding of all these factors affecting your efforts. I mean, you can see, in some of the companies we don't even care. We say, okay, cost and time is very high. We just don't go for it. Similarly, in some cases, we spend a lot of time in teaching users how to behave. How to behave in the application. We used to call them, these guys are stupid idiots. Why are they creating duplicate records? They don't know how to behave. They don't have good etiquettes of using a system. They will create a duplicate record without even thinking about it. Trust me.
You get paid less, they don't care.
Yeah, I mean, they just didn't care about anything. There was one lady, he was here. Remember that beep bucket? Used to be that come, just as we start talking about merged records. Merging records is a big philosophy. One of the important things that you need to know from a very simple technical BS standpoint is, when they merge records, there has to be a cascade merge rule. Second thing is winner and loser record. You need to be able to talk about that. Then you need to be talk about merge rules, right? Then rest of the things that we talked, these are kind of supplementary ideas. Duplicate records, why do they get created, what happens, how to study the user habits, and what kind of user habits are important, what are the deduplication rules and things like that. They just came in the discussion. But main things regarding merge is merge records functionality, okay? Merge rules, winner and loser record. Cascade merge is a very, very big and important topic whenever you're discussing merge. Other thing that we didn't discuss regarding merge is batch. This merge record is a way for users to do the merge, right, from the GUI. But behind the scenes, programmer can run a job and merge all the 4,000 records in 1 minute, and that was a kind of solution we needed in that company where I worked. 4,000 duplicate records, right? So you physically it's not impossible to merge records, 4,000 records, right? I mean, I don't think it's possible. I find that insane to try to do that. So there is a way to do that also. We're not going to get into that domain. That's kind of becoming too much. Merge record is some last disclaimer and important note to be noted is merge records is not used much in the world because of the training required, because the complications involved, because the training required. I mean, they would rather do it in the batch mode behind the scenes rather than doing it, letting the users do it from the GUI. But it is not completely uncommon also. Sometimes users ask for it, sometimes they're intelligent, they can understand the complicated rules, and they want to go extra mile to make sure which the winner record gets all the value. They basically do copying pasting to make sure winner record is good, then they merge it. They do that too, but that's like 1 out of maybe 2 out of 10. You will see merge record functionality enabled in Civil. All right. So anyway, it's not only, we didn't just talk about the merge